My name is Leah Belmont. I'm 28, the youngest daughter in a family where appearances are law and silence is a currency. My brother inherited power. My sister inherited perfection. Me, I inherited a question no one wanted answered. They say blood is thicker than water, but no one ever said blood can lie. The Belmont estate hadn't changed. Neither had the cold air that hugged its marble walls like a warning. Golden lights flickered across the windows like they were trying too hard to look warm. I parked under the archway, engine still rumbling. My hand hesitated on the key. I didn't want to go inside, but I'd come too far, with too much. In the inner pocket of my coat was a USB drive, encrypted, buried in layers of fake tax filings, false trusts, secret payments. It wasn't supposed to be mine. The front door opened before I knocked. Victor Belmont, my father, 65 today, custom-tailored, platinum tie pin, eyes like polished stone. Leah. One nod, one word. That was the welcome. Inside, everything gleamed. Crystal, candlelight, classical music dripping from invisible speakers. Guests in dresses worth rent and suits stitched in silence. My mother moved like a mannequin in pearls. My brother Brady, already holding a whiskey, already in control. Cadence, the eldest, floated across the room like a headline. Still playing the ghost, Leah, she smiled. Her voice was too sweet to be real. Brady glanced at me but didn't speak. I didn't mind. His silence was easier to swallow than their fake warmth. I drifted to the bar, poured my own drink, sipped, watched. Everywhere I looked there were eyes. Watching, measuring. Cut to dining room. Long table, gold trim, 13 seats. Victor sat at the head like a king, without challengers. Brady on his right, Cadence on his left. I was 4 seats down at the edge. As always, dinner passed like a performance. Clinking, laughing, negotiations dressed as anecdotes. I said nothing. I didn't need to. Until the toast. Victor stood, glass in hand. The room hushed. I'm proud of all my children, he began. His voice filled the room like a sermon. Each one, unique, brilliant, useful. Brady's face lit up. Cadence laughed softly. Then, except the loser sitting at the table. The words didn't echo. They pierced. A few chuckled. Cadence looked down. Brady adjusted his cufflink. Not a single person looked at me. I breathed in. Once. Deep. Slow. Then I reached into my coat, pulled out the USB drive, and slid it across the table. It stopped in front of Victor. Happy reunion, Dad. Silence. No aplausos. No smile. Just tension so sharp it could get a man. I stood. Walked. Didn't look back. In the hall, one of the servers brushed past me and whispered without looking up, "You shouldn't have come back." The air outside bit harder than the words. But I didn't flinch. I got into my car, locked the doors, heart still calm, because I wasn't here for forgiveness. I was here to start a fire. If you open that drive, Leah, you better be ready to bury a legacy. 82% of storage, used if you run out of space. You can't save to drive or back up Google Photos. The rain didn't start until I hit the Holland Tunnel. By the time I reached my apartment in Lower Manhattan, my coat was soaked and the USB in my inner pocket felt like it carried more weight than my whole body. I shut the door behind me, double-locked it, and tossed my keys into the bowl by instinct. The silence hit next. Sharp. I tossed the coat onto the couch. Saturday. Laptop. Power on. Breathe. Click. The USB's directory opened like a trapdoor. Nothing labeled. Everything coded. Acronyms. Bank numbers. Shell companies. One folder blinked. Belmont/archive/V01. I clicked. Inside. Scanned contracts. Trust agreements. Property deeds. Cayman. Zurich. Nevada. And then an audio file. Dated 3 months ago. File name, V_Brady_conference. I hit play. Victor's voice came first. Controlled. Cold. She's a loose end. Always has been. Brady, what if she finds out? Victor, then we clean it. Like we always do. Pause. Victor again. She's not one of us anyway. I didn't move. I didn't blink. You think you're ready for the truth. Until it's handed to you, like a bullet with your name etched in the side. I copied the folder to my desktop. The bar filled slowly. 15%, 22%, 36%. Then, screen freeze. Mouse stopped responding. Then, black. I slammed the lid shut. Yanked the USB. You've got 30 seconds before that becomes unrecoverable, a voice said. Tammy stood in my hallway. Dark coat, damp hair. No knock. No warning. She held up her own flash drive. Backup copy. You're welcome. My breath caught. You've been following me. No. I've been protecting you. She moved fast. Plugged her drive in. The files reloaded. Clean, decrypted, even clearer than mine. How did you? Let's say I've been looking into the Belmonts longer than you have. Tammy cracked her neck. You really didn't think I was just another Wall Street analyst, did you? Cut scene. Coffee maker hums. Steam rises. I sit across from her. Table between us. Rain tapping glass behind. Tammy spread out printed pages. Red circles, arrows. Account transfers. She pointed. They're running a 3-tier laundering scheme through land trusts. Old money. Disguised as donation-backed redevelopment. I stared at a name, circled in red. Valmont Equities. That's Cadence's married name. Cadence is in on this. Leah, she's not in on it. She's running it. Blood drained from my fingers. But that's not the worst part, Tammy said. She slid another paper over. A DNA report. My name on it. Bottom line, no biological match to Victor Belmont. I shook my head. So what am I? Not who they want you to be. I stood up. Couldn't sit still. Outside, a horn blared. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up. A voice. Male. Mechanical. Burn the drive, or we burn everything you love. Then silence. Tammy locked eyes with me. They know. I grabbed the blinds, snapped them shut, looked through the peephole. Nothing. Until a car across the street. Engine idling. Headlights off. Tammy stood. We move. Now. Cut to hallway. Vetstairs. Thunder cracks. Our breath fogs the glass of the fire escape. We reach the alley. No words. Just footsteps splashing through puddles. My lungs burned. We reached her car. Inside. Doors locked. Engine on. Where do we go? To someone who still hates your family enough to help. Who? Marcus Hale, former FBI. He almost brought Victor down 10 years ago. He'll talk now. Tammy gripped the wheel, eyes scanning the mirror. I hope you're ready, she said. I laughed once dry. Ready? I've been rehearsing pain my whole life. She nodded. The truth doesn't destroy people, Leah. The lies they protect do. The car rolled forward, swallowed by rain and headlights. You're not the only Belmont with something to prove, Leah, but you're the one they're willing to erase. 82% of storage, used if you run out of space. You can't save to drive or back up Google Photos. The Belmont estate didn't sleep. Not really. It shimmered like a trophy lit up like a lie. Even at 3 a.m., every hallway hummed with presence. Motion-activated lights. Hidden cameras in the molding. A house built to watch itself. I stepped out of Tammy's car, pulling my hood low. Her voice echoed behind me. Get in. Get proof. Get out. Easy to say. Harder to do. I crossed the gravel path toward the west wing. The wine cellar entrance was where it had always been, through the garden door, left behind the hydrangeas. Only now a keypad guarded it. For digits. One chance. I punched in Victor's birthday. Beep. Red light. Tried cadences. Nothing. I closed my eyes. My mother's. Green light. Click. Sometimes the people you least expect know how to open every door. Inside was cold. Wet concrete. Stale wood. The kind of chill that didn't come from temperature. It came from memory. I moved fast. Down the stone stairs. Shelves of Bordeaux and Syrah blurred past me. A hatch at the end. Hidden under the old Belmont crest. I pushed. Metal groaned. Hinges gave. A second vault door. Fingerprint scanner. I held my breath. Then, override port. USB port. Same model as the drive in my pocket. I slid it in. Click. The door unlocked. Inside, rows of filing cabinets. 2 safes. A leather-bound ledger. No dust. No signs of age. Like someone had been here. Recently. I opened the first drawer. Documents, stamped confidential. Trusts, transfers, guairtrals. Some signed by Brady. Others cadence. One file caught my eye. L. Belmont clearance authorization. Red. Inside, DNA reports. Scans. An old test marked private. Results highlighted. Non-match to paternal DNA. So it was true. I wasn't Victor Belmont's biological daughter. But the report was dated 15 years ago, meaning he had known. All this time. Then another folder. Valmont assets private. Cadence's married name. Offshore logs. Unregistered foundations. One note scribbled in the margin. Move shell before audit. Do not leave trace. The air grew heavier. Cameras. Not visible, but I could feel them. The room had that weight, like it had eyes. I snapped photos. Every page. One after another. Thumb trembling on the button. A soft click behind me. I turned. Security guard. Unarmed. But not alone. Cadence stepped forward. Heels echoing off stone. She was flawless as ever, except her smile didn't reach her eyes. Told you we should have changed the locks, she said. The guard stepped back. Left us alone. You're not surprised, I said. Of course I'm not. You've always been predictable, Leah. Curious. Emotional. Weak. I'm not the weak one, I snapped. You're laundering money through a charity front. Her brow arched. You think I'm scared of you? You're not even one of us. I held up the report. I'm not, and that terrifies you. She stepped closer, her perfume sweet, sharp, like sugar over broken glass. This family runs on illusion, she whispered. You broke the mirror. Good. Maybe it deserves to shatter. She laughed. Cold. You thought Victor was the king. He's just the mask. I've been holding the reins for 5 years. That landed. My breath caught. You're bluffing, I said. She leaned in. Then go ahead. Leak the files. Just know if I fall, I don't fall alone. She turned. Walked away. Her words hanging like smoke. I backed out of the vault. Closed the hatch. Made it up the stairs. Heartbeat cracking in my ears. Outside. Headlights cut through the trees. Someone else arriving. Too fast. Too clean. I sprinted across the garden, slipped behind a hedge, just in time to see Brady's SUV pull up. He stepped out, looked around, and muttered something into his phone. I caught one word. Contain. The wind shifted. Cold again. In that moment, I realized something bigger than betrayal. The USB hadn't been meant for me. Someone else had been trying to blow the whistle. Someone who wasn't breathing anymore. You were never the threat, Leah, until now. 82% of storage, used if you run out of space. You can't save to drive or back up Google Photos. Marcus Hale lived in a warehouse that looked abandoned from the outside, but breathed like a bunker from the inside. Stale door. Triple lock. No windows facing the street. He opened it before we knocked, like he'd been expecting us. Belmont trouble, he said. Didn't think I'd hear that name again. His voice was gravel, worn, heavy, used to being ignored. We stepped inside. The place smelled like rust and old files. A wall of monitors glowed pale blue. Maps, timelines, transaction routes, names I recognized and names I wished I didn't. Tammy spoke first. We need protection and proof. Marcus stared at me. You look like your mother around the eyes. But your father? No, not even a shade. The words stung more than they should have. I swallowed hard. We found enough to bury them. There's no such thing, he said. You either burn them or they burn you. A muffled truth. A hard one. I tucked it away. Cut scene. We were spread across his table. Tammy decrypting files, Marcus cross-checking shell companies, me scrolling through emails that smelled like conspiracy. I opened one. Subject line. Final transfer before audit. Move the foundation. K. Cadence. My stomach dropped. She's consolidating. Fussed. If she moves the funds out of the Valmont Foundation, the feds won't catch anything. Marcus leaned in. She's not just laundering. She's staging an exit. Where to? He shook his head. Doesn't matter. What matters is why. My phone buzzed before I could ask. Unknown number. Again. A text. One photo. Tammy. Slumped in a chair. Unconscious. Hands tied. My breath stuttered. Tammy. Then a second text. Trade the files, or she disappears. Marcus grabbed the phone. Timing's too clean. Someone knew you'd run to me. He paced. Someone's watching your locations, your movement patterns, your calls. I felt eyes on my spine, even though we were inside concrete. You think cadence. Marcus cut me off. Your sister isn't subtle, but she's smart. Cold smart. The kind of smart that doesn't get caught unless she wants to. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. We all froze. Marcus whispered. Backup generators shouldn't trigger unless there's. The whole building shuddered. A slam from the rear door. He drew his gun. Pressed a finger to his lips. Another slam. Cut scene. We were moving through the hall. Feet silent on concrete. Tammy's breathing shaky behind me. My heart punching my ribs. Then, a crash. Glass exploding. Footsteps scattering. Marcus shoved me behind a crate. Stay low. We waited. Breath held. But the footsteps didn't enter. They retreated. A car sped off outside. Marcus checked the back exit. The door hung crooked on its hinges. Forced open from the outside. They wanted to scare us, he said, or stall us. He turned to me. We need leverage. I shook my head. Victor won't budge. Brady's terrified. Cadence. We'll talk if she thinks she's in control, Marcus said. So we let her think that. Tammy rubbed her wrists, alive and very much conscious. I staged the photo, Leah. My head snapped toward her. She lifted her phone. Played the clip of herself falling into the chair, pretending to pass out. I needed to see how far they'd go, and they went far. Relief hit first, then anger, then something sharper. You scared the hell out of me. Tammy looked down. Good. Fear keeps us alive. Somewhere in the city, a siren wailed. The sound crawled through the warehouse like a warning. Marcus grabbed a file. We need insurance before confronting them. Hard evidence. Something they can't erase or twist. What kind? I asked. He put a hand on the table. Pressed a button. A drawer popped open. Inside, a burner phone, a recorder, and a sealed envelope marked BFR. Belmont Family Records. Originals, he said. Untouched. Including the inheritance clauses and signatures from all 3 Belmont heirs. My heartbeat stumbled. I thought these were sealed. They were, until someone higher up sent them to me. Months ago. Who? Marcus looked at me. Long. Sharp. You're not the only one who wants the Belmont Empire to fall. Outside, a gust of wind slammed against the metal walls. The lights shook. I didn't breathe. "Marcus," I whispered. "Who sent the files?" He pressed the envelope into my hands. His voice was barely audible. "Someone who knew you'd come home, Leah." The warehouse went still. Air thick. A shape moved past the high window, a shadow slipping across the glass like a ghost. My skin iced. Marcus stepped back. "Leah, you need to hear this before anything else." "What?" He hesitated, the first time he'd ever done so. "The USB, it wasn't meant for you." My fingers tightened around the envelope. "Then who is it meant for?" He exhaled hard. "Your father's first whistleblower. The one who died in that accident 2 months ago." I stared at him, breath gone, chest burning. In the reflection of the metal wall, I saw movement behind us. A figure, standing, watching. And that was when I understood. I wasn't dealing with a family anymore. I was dealing with a dynasty willing to kill, to protect its truth. If I want to bring them down, I'll have to burn more than the truth. 82% of storage, used if you run out of space. You can't save to drive or back up Google Photos. The Belmont Ballroom looked like it had been polished within an inch of its life. Crystal chandeliers blazed overhead. The marble floor reflected every face, every lie, every secret. But underneath all the glamour, I could feel the tension vibrating, thin, stretched, ready to snap. This wasn't a dinner. It was a battlefield with linen napkins. I stepped inside wearing black. Not elegant black. Sharp black. Black that warned people to stay out of my way. Tammy kept close behind me, her eyes scanning the corners. Press photographers lingered behind velvet ropes outside the open archway, pretending not to be watching. Inside, the table was set for 10. Victor sat at the head, a king in exile. Brady to his right, hands shaking just slightly as he adjusted his tie. Cadence to his left. Calm, too calm, like a flame moments before it devours something. "Leah," Victor said, standing. "A family dinner should be conducted with dignity." I took my seat without looking at him. "Then you invited the wrong daughter." Cadence smirked. "She's learning how to talk back." "Goo." Tammy leaned toward me, whispered, "Stay focused. Don't let them pull you into theater. You're here to win." I nodded. Cut scene. The first course barely hit the table before the verbal knives came out. "So, Leah," Brady said, swirling his wine, "we heard you've been digging." I smiled. "You heard right." Victor set his glass down. "Hard. Whatever nonsense you think you have." "It's not nonsense," I said. "It's documentation. Transfers. Phony foundations. Offshore holdings. Fraud." A murmur ran down the table. A few guests shifted. Others pretended not to hear. Cadence didn't blink. She cut into her steak delicately, saying, "Truth is just a blade. It depends on who's holding it." I leaned back. Funny. Someone once told me the same thing. Right before they tried to kill me with a car in a parking garage. Brady stiffened. Victor's face twitched barely. Cadence finally looked up, eyes darkening. "If someone did that, I'm sure you provoked it." My laugh was quiet, ungiving. "You don't provoke criminals, Cadence. You expose them." Victor slammed his hand on the table. Silverware rattled. "That's enough." But it wasn't. Not even close. I stood, slowly. My heels echoed against marble like it was part of the score. From my bag, I pulled out a small wrapped box. Set it in front of Victor. "A gift," I said, "since you love performances." Cadence's eyes flicked toward Brady. Brady swallowed hard. Victor hesitated. He opened the box. Inside was a burner phone, already unlocked. A single app glowing on the screen. Victor looked at me. "What is this?" Tammy stood at the back of the room, lifting her hand in a subtle signal. Play it, I said. He tapped the screen. The projector flicked on across the ballroom wall. Static. Then, audio. Victor's voice echoed through the speakers. She's a loose end. Always has been. Brady, what if she finds out? Victor, then we clean it. Like we always do. Guests gasped. Someone's wine glass shattered on the floor. Brady stood too quickly. Chair scraping violently. This is taken out of context. I stepped forward. Then, let's add context. I swiped the screen. Footage played next. Cadence in a private office, counting stacks of cash next to unsigned deeds. Another video. Victor shaking hands with a state auditor and handing over an envelope. Gasps rose like smoke. Cadence's jaw tightened. You think this will scare me? No, I said. I think it will expose you. Another tap. Emails. Transaction logs. Text messages between Cadence and her shell company's CFO. Guests covered their mouths. Whispers rippled. Phones lifted discreetly. Victor's voice cracked. Turn it off. I didn't. I stepped closer to the table, eyes locked on my father. This is what you built, Dad. A dynasty of mirrors. But mirrors break. Cadence stood. Slow. Deliberate. You think you've won. Tammy walked out from the shadows, alive, unharmed. No bruises. No ropes. Victor snapped toward her. You were kidnapped. Tammy smiled. Not even close. But thanks for admitting you saw the footage. Brady dropped his glass. Cadence froze. Victor looked trapped between denial and rage. Everything moved fast then. Guests left, screaming. The press surged closer outside. Phones buzzing. Cameras flashing. I leaned across the table, inches from Victor. You built an empire on lies, Dad, and I just sold the whole damn thing to the truth. 82% of storage, used if you run out of space. You can't save to drive or back up Google Photos. The morning after the storm was too quiet. New York sun filtered through the smoke-tinted windows of the Belmont estate. The ballroom was empty now. Chairs toppled, linen stained, glasses cracked, like a war had passed through, and no one cared to clean up the wreckage. I stood in the middle of it, breathing, alive. Victor was in custody. White-collar charges with felony enhancements. Fraud, obstruction, attempted witness tampering. More to come. Cadence had gone underground. Her name now toxic across every network, social or otherwise. Brady was trying to cut a deal, but he didn't have enough leverage left to sell. Turns out, power's real currency isn't money. It's reputation. And theirs was in ruins. Tammy walked in behind me. They're gone, Leah. Every single one of them. I nodded. My voice was barely a whisper. So why doesn't it feel like winning? Because revenge never tastes as sweet as peace. She sat beside me on the step, but sometimes it's the only justice we get. Cut scene. The press circled like sharks for days, then weeks. Then they moved on. They always do. I declined every interview. Truth didn't need to be explained, just shown. One by one, victims of the Belmont schemes came forward. Families who lost homes, workers unpaid, retirees robbed blind. Their stories filled the gaps I couldn't. Every night I listened to their voices on old recordings. Not because I needed reminders, but because I never wanted to forget. What silence costs. What looking away costs. What survival costs. One night, sitting alone in my new apartment, I whispered, sometimes being the black sheep just means you were never meant to follow. Cut scene. Weeks later, I visited my mother's grave. There were no cameras, no ceremony, just me, a cup of coffee, and the quiet rustle of dry leaves. I did it, Mom, I said. They called me the loser, but I didn't lose. My hands trembled as I lit a small candle. Wind threatened to kill the flame. It wavered but didn't die. I wanted you to know, I added, before the world tells the story in its own way. I stood, wiping dirt from my palms. Behind me, someone cleared their throat. I turned. Tammy, holding a small envelope. From an anonymous sender, she said, handing it over. It was dropped at the firm. No return address. I opened it. Inside, a folded birth certificate. Mine. Only one parent was listed, and it wasn't Victor Belmont. My fingers went numb. Tammy caught my eye. Leah, you were never the loser. I laughed once, bitter and hollow. I was just the only truth in a family of fiction. Cut scene. Weeks later, I gave my first public statement. Not to the press, to a classroom of undergrads at Columbia Law. I told them about greed, about truth, about power built on the backs of silence. Justice, I said, isn't about punishment. It's about making sure what was broken never breaks the same way again. They clapped. I didn't expect them to. I didn't need them to. Closure isn't a clean break. It's a scar that doesn't ache anymore. Cut scene. At home, the light stayed dim. I preferred it that way. Shadows had taught me how to see clearly. A friend once told me, not all ghosts haunt. Some protect. Mine did. Every time I thought of running, they reminded me what I stood for. Not legacy, not revenge, not even justice, but truth. Because in a world full of mirrors, being real is the only rebellion that matters. And I stopped hiding. I stopped apologizing. I was the truth they tried to erase. And now, I was the only one left to write it.